is our tutorial for our first person flashlight again. This tutorial is specifically dealing with adding a flashlight battery level that we can alter using other scripts. So I'm in my darker level, I'm in my third person, I'm gonna hit the button to switch to first person. And my flashlight is now off, okay? I'm gonna turn my flashlight on. And what's gonna happen is my battery is failing pretty quickly. And I set it to fail quickly because I want to show the process. But again, I'll show this again. What's going on is that I have a battery. When my flashlight is on, and when I turn it on, it's gonna start losing battery. And I set it to lose battery every 0.1 seconds, which is really fast. We're gonna change that up later, but just for the purpose of testing this out, we're gonna make it lose battery super fast. And again, I have an indicator. This bar in the middle, this ugly bar, is my battery level. I'll probably get rid of it or at least restyle it. But for now, it's just showing us what battery we have. So again, I'm turning on my battery. And it's gonna die, and you'll see it start to die down pretty soon, right about 25 seconds. It's low, and now it's dead. And once it's dead, I cannot turn it back on. So I would need to get some type of battery to actually turn it on because, yeah, it's dead now. And I'm gonna show you how to set this up and make our game like more difficult and add some some more objectives to this part of the level. First, we're gonna have to set up a variable to track our battery levels. We're gonna add that variable to our third person blueprint where we also added our characters, the first and third person. And I already have them here in my variables. The first one I want you to set is the battery integer. So you're gonna add a variable here, plus, and we're gonna call this battery level. And it cannot be Boolean, it has to be an integer. Because this is basically gonna be our level of battery. Actually, not an integer, let's make it a float. So this is our battery level, it's a float. We're also gonna need to have a variable that will determine whether or not the flashlight's on, because if it's off, we don't want the battery to keep going, and if it's off, you may want other things to happen in that part of your level, like maybe, you scream or the monster attacks, something, make it scary when the battery turns off. Make it scary, make it actually have an impact on your player. So we're gonna add another variable. This is gonna be called is flashlight on. And this needs to be, I'll call it is flashlight on too because I already have is flashlight on. Okay, and finally we want to add a max and a minimum battery, okay? So let's say our minimum battery level minimum is, of course, it needs to be a float, which is, a number with a decimal. And we're gonna set the minimum battery level to 0. And before you can set a variable, you have to compile and save. So now that it's compiled, we can go over to the details. We're gonna set this battery level minimum to 0, which it is by default. Now we need to add a maximum battery level. So again, I'm gonna add another one, battery level max. Okay, this is the maximum. Let's make it 100 because, this is gonna be a percentage of our minimum and maximum. Again, you need to compile, and now we're setting our battery level max to 100. Okay, so now that we have these, is flashlight on, our battery level, our minimum and our maximum battery level, we're gonna kind of start this whole script here. Okay, so the initiating action for this blueprint is going to be the event tick. The event tick, I already have it down here, so I'm going to just move it down here so we have some space. The event tick is basically going to, run every second and just continuously execute whatever is behind it. Because, we want the battery to go down continuously. Okay, if you already have stuff attached to your event tick, what you can do is pull it out and look for a sequence. Sequence will just help you to basically branch out so that after the event tick you can do several things. I don't know if you have one already after the event tick, but if you do, just put a sequence and you can run both of your scripts afterwards. But I don't really have anything, so I'm going to get rid of that. So the first thing you need to do to make your battery go down is get a branch, and we're going to check is the flashlight on, because you don't want the battery to be running out if you haven't turned the flashlight on. Like, that would be unfair. It wouldn't be realistic. We only want the battery to lose power if the flashlight's actually turned on. So luckily you made a variable called isFlashlightOn, and you can just reference that variable, pull it out, and get isFlashlightOn, and check if that is true. Okay, if it's true, we're going to do the first thing. If it's false, we're going to do the first thing. So first, let's talk about if it's false. If flashlight on is false, that means the flashlight's not on. We're going to turn the light off. Okay, so for turning the light off, what you need to do is first check if the battery is actually 0. Okay, so again, we have our event tick. Then we create a branch, and we're checking if the flashlight is on, because like I said, you don't want the battery to run down unless the flashlight's turned on. If the flashlight is on, we're going to start to get rid of some of the battery. Okay, so we're first going to check though if the battery is 0. If the battery is 0, we can't bring it any lower. Okay, so we have to basically stop getting rid of the battery if it's already at 0, or otherwise it will kind of throw off if we have more battery to get, because you'll have negative battery. We don't want that. So first we have to check if the battery is greater than 0, because we only want to get rid of the battery if you actually have battery. So to do that, I'm going to add another branch. Yay. And this time the condition will be basically figuring out if the battery level is 0. So we have our battery level. Let's get the battery level. And this will be our current level of our battery. Okay. So we want to make sure that the battery level is not basically dead or 0. What we're going to do is get a script called greater than. Okay, so that's under the math. You just search for greater. Basically, this is checking is this number, the whatever is attached to the first level, is it greater than something here? And this time we're going to keep this to 0 because we want to know is the battery level greater than 0? And we're going to put that into the condition. So now it's checking before it starts to subtract more battery. It's checking is the battery level greater than 0? If the battery level is greater than 0, we'll start getting rid of battery. If the battery level is not greater than 0, we're going to basically show that the flashlight's dead. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let's do the code that will show if the battery actually is dead. And to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag out from the false. So this means the battery is basically 0. If the battery is 0, here we're going to say, let's just print something just for now, and we'll say flashlight is dead. Yes, so if it is 0, if the battery level is 0, that means the flashlight is dead. And the next thing we're going to do, I don't know if you guys have done anything like this before, we're actually gonna set a component of our spotlight, because the spotlight that we set up, you know, this spotlight here, that's what we have to turn off if it's dead. This is what we're controlling with the script. We still have everything else set up, but this spotlight right here, this is what we're controlling with all these battery levels. So we need to get a reference of that spotlight. I'm going to drag that reference in. And basically, after we print that the flashlight's dead, we're going to set visibility of the spotlight. And I already had a reference, so I'll delete that. Oops. We're going to set the visibility of the spotlight and make it invisible. So the visibility must be unchecked. That means it will set the visibility to dead. And then finally, just to be safe, we're going to set the variable is flashlight on. And we're going to set that no, it's not on. So we need to uncheck that to make sure that the flashlight's not on and it's invisible. The spotlight's invisible. Okay. So that's what's going to happen if our battery level reaches 0. It'll say the flashlight's dead, it'll turn off the spotlight, and it will set its flashlight on to false. Easy enough. Now we're going to do the script that happens if the battery is not dead. If the battery is not dead, over time you need to be making it die. So we're going to use some simple math to basically start that. Basically subtract from this battery level right here. Okay. So to do that, we're basically going to grab out first a delay, because we want to go little by little and delay how we subtract. So we're going to delay the subtraction of the battery level so that it's not just like automatically subtracting it too fast. And let's make it like 0.2 for the duration, because that will basically say like we're going to subtract 1 from the battery level every 0.2 seconds. It's going to die real fast. We're going to change this up later, you know, when you're actually ready for the game. But while we're testing out the script here, let's just keep it to a fast dying battery so you can actually see the effect. And again, we're going to compile and save. So it will delay a little bit, and then we're going to reset the battery level. So we're going to grab that battery level back. And this time we're going to reset it to a new number. And basically that new number will be whatever it was before minus 1. Okay. So we're going to, again, grab a subtract. And what happens with this subtract is going to take this first number, subtract whatever is here, and then we'll set that as the new battery level. Okay. So if you think about it, you got to take the original battery level wherever it's at. So we're going to grab a reference to that. So whatever the battery level is, we're going to get it. And we're going to subtract from that, I guess 1. So now what's happening is if we have battery, every 0.2 seconds, you're going to subtract 1. So if it starts at 100, it's going to die pretty fast. And then we'll set that as the new battery level. Just for our testing purposes, let's also print out that battery level. And so we're going to print out the new battery level just to see this happen. And so we're going to grab another reference and then print this. Okay, so it'll print out whatever is the new battery level. Then once it gets to 0, it should tell us that the battery's dead, and it will say this string, flashlight is dead. So let's test it out. Compile, save. Okay. So I'm going to start playing, and forget about the UI, we haven't done that yet, but I'm going to go to my my first person, and you know, right now my battery is not dying because my flashlight isn't on, so we're going to turn our flashlight on. And what's happening is it should be dying.